Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here with all of you today. We gather in the spirit of growth, understanding, and reflection. And today I want to talk about a choice we often face, what to do when we encounter disrespect. It's a powerful moment, one that can define us, and yet it is a choice we rarely think through before we're in it. Silence is a form of strength, not weakness. This idea challenges a common misconception in our society, where silence is often equated with submission or powerlessness. In reality, there is immense strength in silence, especially when faced with disrespect. When someone disrespects us, the immediate impulse is usually to respond, to speak up, to defend ourselves, to fight back. But the choice to stay silent in those moments is not a passive one. It's an active decision to maintain control over our emotions and actions, to rise above the situation rather than be dragged into the heat of it. When we choose silence, we are, in essence, choosing to protect our emotional well-being. It requires discipline to hold back our words, to resist the urge to lash out. This discipline comes from a place of self-awareness and self-respect. We recognize that responding in anger or hurt often escalates the situation, drawing us deeper into a cycle of negativity. Silence, on the other hand, allows us to step back from the moment, giving us time to think, reflect, and regain our composure. It's in this pause that our true strength emerges, not in the words we speak, but in our ability to remain steady when the world around us wants to push us off balance. Moreover, silence enables us to preserve our dignity. Responding to disrespect can sometimes lower our own standards, especially if we engage in a way that reflects the same negative energy we're receiving. Retaliation might give us a temporary sense of satisfaction, but it often leaves us feeling drained, regretful, or angry afterward. In contrast, silence helps us maintain our sense of integrity. It says, I am above this. I will not be defined by the negativity you project onto me. It doesn't mean we don't feel hurt or frustrated. It simply means that we refuse to let those emotions control our actions. Our strength comes from recognizing that we don't need to match disrespect with more disrespect. Instead, we can choose to rise above it, staying true to ourselves. Choosing silence also requires a deep understanding of our own emotional triggers. We all have them. We all have moments when we are easily hurt or offended. But silence is the act of being in control of those triggers instead of letting them control us. It's an acknowledgement that our emotions, while real and valid, do not have to dictate our behavior. When we stay silent, we're not suppressing our feelings. We're simply deciding not to let them dictate our immediate response. This is an incredibly empowering act. It shows that we are not slaves to our impulses, but rather we are the ones steering the ship of our emotional life. Additionally, silence grants us the opportunity to reflect on the situation more objectively. When we're in the heat of the moment, our emotions are often clouded by the initial rush of anger, hurt, or defensiveness. But by staying silent, we create space to step back and view the situation from a broader perspective. This perspective allows us to understand that the disrespect we're encountering is not necessarily about us. It may be a reflection of the other person's own struggles, insecurities, or frustrations. Silence allows us to detach ourselves from the personal offense and consider the bigger picture. It helps us recognize that we don't need to take everything personally, especially when others' actions are more about them than about us. In this way, silence becomes an act of emotional resilience. It is a conscious choice to respond to disrespect with strength rather than allowing it to break us down. It shows that we are not at the mercy of others' words or actions. Our sense of self-worth doesn't depend on their approval or validation. Silence is the embodiment of inner strength. It's the power to control our reactions, to remain grounded, and to choose how we want to show up in the face of adversity. It's in these moments of silence that we demonstrate the true measure of our character. Choosing quiet gives space for emotional regulation and clarity. In moments of disrespect or conflict, our initial response is often an emotional one. We feel anger, frustration, sadness, or even shame, and the natural urge is to act on those feelings immediately. However, the decision to stay quiet allows us the critical time and space to process our emotions before responding. Instead of reacting out of hurt or defensiveness, we create a pause that helps us approach the situation with clarity and intention. This pause isn't just about holding back words, it's about holding back reactive emotions long enough to allow our deeper understanding and values to guide us. Emotional regulation is a fundamental skill in navigating the complexities of human interaction. When we allow ourselves the space to breathe, we give our emotions time to settle, which is key to responding with maturity and composure. Without this space, Our reactions are often knee-jerk responses that reflect the intensity of the moment, rather than the thoughtful, well-considered actions we might later wish we'd taken. We've all experienced that moment of regret after reacting impulsively where our emotions got the better of us, and we said something we didn't mean, or worse, something that escalated the situation unnecessarily. In contrast, the act of staying quiet allows us to step out of that cycle of reactivity. In this space of silence, we give ourselves the chance to take a step back and observe our emotional landscape. We notice the immediate anger or hurt that the disrespect has triggered, and we can choose to not let those feelings dictate our behavior. Emotional regulation doesn't mean suppressing our feelings or pretending that we aren't affected. It means acknowledging our emotions, but giving ourselves the time to fully process them before allowing them to control how we act. Silence helps us recognize that feelings are valid, but they don't have to drive our actions in the moment. By stepping away from that initial emotional impulse, we open the door to a more thoughtful and intentional response. What's more, the quiet allows us the opportunity to gain clarity about what's truly important to us in the situation. In the heat of the moment, it can be difficult to see beyond the surface level of conflict. We might focus only on the disrespectful words or behavior and become fixated on the need to defend ourselves. But the silence creates space for us to reflect on the deeper dynamics at play. It allows us to ask ourselves, what do I truly want from this interaction? What is the outcome I hope for? Perhaps the situation isn't as personal as it feels. Maybe the person's disrespect has more to do with their own insecurities or struggles than it does with us. Silence helps us uncover the layers of the situation and decide whether it's worth engaging in or if it's better to let go and move on. Furthermore, the pause that silence provides can help us reframe the way we perceive the disrespect. When we react immediately, we often view the situation through a lens of personal offense. We see it as an attack on our character, which triggers our need to protect ourselves. However, the quiet gives us the chance to reframe the situation from a more balanced perspective. We might begin to recognize that the person disrespecting us is coming from a place of their own pain or frustration, rather than malice directed at us. This reframing can shift our emotional response entirely. Instead of retaliating, we might feel compassion for the other person, recognizing that their behavior isn't necessarily about us, but about their own struggles. In moments of disrespect, silence also fosters a sense of self-awareness. It's easy to become swept up in the intensity of the moment and lose sight of who we are and what we stand for. But choosing quiet allows us to reconnect with our values. It gives us the opportunity to reflect on what really matters in the interaction. Do we want to be someone who responds with anger and aggression, or do we want to be someone who stays grounded, who chooses peace and clarity in the face of negativity? In the quiet, we find our true strength not in matching disrespect with more disrespect, but in choosing a path that aligns with our integrity. This space for emotional regulation and clarity doesn't just benefit us in the short term, it has lasting effects on our well-being. By learning to stay quiet in moments of disrespect, we build emotional resilience over time. We become less vulnerable to the immediate sting of criticism or negativity, knowing that we can always pause and find a more thoughtful response. We build emotional muscle, strengthening our ability to face challenges without being knocked off course. Respect starts from within. Self-respect shields us from disrespect. This statement speaks to the core of how we experience the world and how we interact with others. Our internal sense of self-worth plays a significant role in how we perceive and respond to the actions of others. When we have a strong foundation of self-respect, we are far less likely to be shaken by external disrespect. In contrast, when our sense of self is fragile or uncertain, even the smallest offense can feel like a personal attack. The key to navigating these moments of disrespect lies in how we value and understand ourselves, independent of what others may say or do. Self-respect is a deep, internal understanding that we are worthy of kindness, dignity, and fairness regardless of external validation. It's not about thinking we are better than others. Rather, it's about acknowledging our own inherent worth and holding ourselves to a standard of integrity. When we respect ourselves, we do not allow the opinions, judgments, or behaviors of others to determine our self-worth. We are not reliant on others to tell us who we are or what we deserve. This inner confidence becomes our shield when we encounter disrespect. We don't need the approval of others to feel whole, because we already understand our value. The moments when we are disrespected often trigger a defensive reaction because we feel threatened. We fear that the disrespect means something about us, that it diminishes our worth in the eyes of the person disrespecting us. But when we have self-respect, we know that disrespect is not a reflection of who we are. It is a reflection of the other person's values, perspectives, and behaviors. This understanding allows us to separate our self-worth from the negative actions of others. If someone disrespects us, it says more about their character than ours. Their behavior does not define us, and it certainly does not diminish our value. In this sense, self-respect acts as a buffer against the hurt and frustration that comes from being disrespected. Instead of reacting impulsively with anger or defensiveness, we can remain grounded in our understanding that their disrespect is not a direct attack on our worth. This internal clarity allows us to choose a response that aligns with our values, rather than responding out of ego or hurt. We might choose silence as we understand that retaliating or engaging in conflict doesn't serve our peace or our dignity. Our respect for ourselves allows us to rise above the moment, choosing to either walk away or engage in a more measured, composed way. Furthermore, self-respect empowers us to set boundaries. When we respect ourselves, we are more likely to assertively establish limits with others. We recognize that we deserve to be treated with dignity, and when that treatment falls short, we have the right to communicate that it's unacceptable. Self-respect gives us the courage to stand up for ourselves without aggression or defensiveness. It's not about confrontation, it's about asserting our needs and expectations in a way that honors both ourselves and the other person. By setting boundaries, we demonstrate that we are worthy of respect, and we communicate to others that disrespect will not be tolerated. Additionally, self-respect allows us to practice forgiveness, not necessarily for the sake of the person who disrespected us, but for our own well-being. When we hold on to resentment or anger, we allow the disrespect to continue affecting us long after the incident has passed. But when we maintain a strong sense of self-respect, we recognize that forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but it means not allowing that behavior to continue to erode our sense of peace and self-worth. We forgive because we value our own emotional health more than the need to hold on to negativity. Having self-respect also helps us to see the bigger picture in moments of disrespect. It allows us to take a step back and recognize that other people's actions often stem from their own insecurities, struggles, or lack of understanding. Their disrespect may not even be about us at all. When we respect ourselves, we don't take it personally. We recognize that others are navigating their own challenges, and sometimes those challenges manifest in hurtful ways. By not internalizing their actions, we free ourselves from the burden of carrying their negativity. We give ourselves the freedom to move forward without being dragged down by others' behaviors. Ultimately, self-respect provides a sense of internal peace that no external force can take away. It is the foundation of resilience, enabling us to withstand the difficulties that arise in relationships and interactions. When we value ourselves, we are not as vulnerable to the impact of disrespect. We can engage with others from a place of strength and compassion rather than defensiveness or fear. Our respect for ourselves protects us from the hurtful behaviors of others, and it allows us to navigate the world with a sense of purpose, dignity, and inner peace. Our reactions reveal our values, not the actions of others. How we respond to disrespect or any form of negativity is a direct reflection of who we are and what we stand for. It's easy to think that our reactions are purely about the situation or the person who has wronged us. We might believe that someone else's behavior is the reason we react the way we do, but in reality, our responses speak volumes about our internal values and beliefs. This understanding shifts the focus from the external world to our internal world, empowering us to take responsibility for our emotional state and the choices we make in the face of conflict. When we react impulsively, emotionally, or aggressively to disrespect, we are often unconsciously allowing that moment to define us. We react based on our wounds, our insecurities, or our need to prove ourselves. For example, if we respond with anger to an insult, it may reflect an underlying belief that we must defend our honor at all costs. If we feel the need to retaliate or engage in conflict, it could reveal a value system that prioritizes winning or being right over peace or understanding. In these moments, our reactions are not about the disrespectful actions of others. They are about our own internal struggles and what we believe to be important. On the other hand, when we respond with calmness, self-control, and understanding, we reveal a deeper commitment to our values. It shows that we value peace over conflict, self-respect over validation from others, and wisdom over impulsive reactions. Choosing to remain composed in the face of disrespect doesn't mean we are passive or allowing others to walk over us. It means that we are staying true to our values and choosing a path that reflects our inner strength. When we pause, think, and respond thoughtfully, we demonstrate that we are guided by something greater than the immediate emotions of the moment. Our reactions also reveal what we value in our relationships with others. If we respond to disrespect with compassion, it may reflect a deep belief in the importance of understanding and empathy. This response may be rooted in a value of forgiveness or the understanding that everyone is carrying their own burdens. Choosing not to retaliate or escalate the conflict shows that we value connection over division, healing over harm. In these moments, our reactions reveal a commitment to seeing the humanity in others even when their actions are hurtful. Conversely, if our reaction is to shut down, retaliate, or escalate the situation, it may reveal a fear of vulnerability or a desire to protect our ego. We may feel threatened or insecure, and our response is an attempt to defend our sense of self. In these moments, we may be valuing our pride over our peace. Our reactions then become a way to protect ourselves from the discomfort of feeling disrespected or hurt. While this reaction is entirely human and understandable, it also reveals underlying values of fear and self-protection rather than growth or connection. Another important aspect of how our reactions reveal our values is in the way we treat ourselves. If we react to disrespect by internalizing it by allowing someone else's words or behavior to make us feel inferior or unworthy, it shows that we may be struggling with self-esteem or self-respect. It indicates that we are seeking validation from external sources instead of drawing from the strength within us. In these situations, our reactions reflect a deeper need for self-acceptance and recognition, and the lack of it can make us more susceptible to the impact of disrespect. Alternatively, when we respond with grace or choose silence in the face of disrespect, we are reflecting a commitment to self-respect. We recognize that we don't need to prove our worth through others' approval. We know that our value is not determined by the opinions or behaviors of others. In choosing a measured response or silence, we demonstrate that our sense of self-worth is rooted in something deeper and more stable than external validation. We show that we are capable of maintaining our integrity even when others may not treat us with the same consideration. Ultimately, our reactions reveal what we hold most dear in life. They reflect our deepest values, whether they are values of kindness, respect, peace, love, or self-respect. Each time we respond to disrespect, we have an opportunity to assess whether our reactions align with these values. Do we respond from a place of fear and insecurity? Or do we respond from a place of strength, compassion, and self-respect? By understanding that our reactions are a mirror to our values, we can become more intentional in how we engage with others and how we navigate moments of conflict or hurt. In every interaction, we are given a choice to embody the values that matter most to us. Staying quiet allows us to respond with grace, not impulse, in moments of disrespect or conflict. Our first instinct is often to react immediately. Our emotions can surge rapidly: anger, frustration, hurt, driving us to respond on impulse. It's human nature to want to defend ourselves, to correct a wrong, or to express our feelings right away. However, the choice to stay silent offers us a powerful opportunity to pause, take a step back, and respond with grace, rather than giving in to the temptation of an impulsive reaction. This choice, though difficult at times, is an act of emotional mastery and emotional resilience. When we are able to stay quiet, we create space for ourselves. In that space, we can take a deep breath, collect our thoughts, and examine the situation with greater clarity. The emotional surge we feel when disrespected or hurt is intense and immediate, but it is also temporary. If we act on it too quickly, we may find ourselves saying or doing things that we regret. We may escalate the situation, adding fuel to the fire rather than calming it. But when we allow ourselves to stay quiet, we avoid the trap of immediate reaction and give ourselves a chance to think through the most compassionate and effective response. This moment of silence doesn't mean we are giving up or conceding. It means we are choosing to act with more intention. Staying quiet offers us a chance to reflect on the larger picture. It allows us to assess what truly matters in the situation. Is this an opportunity for a meaningful conversation, or is it better to walk away and preserve our peace? Often, silence is the wisest response. It gives us the space to consider whether engaging in the situation is worth the emotional cost, or whether it would be more beneficial to disengage to protect our energy and well-being. Grace comes not from reacting out of hurt, but from responding with intention and thoughtfulness. When we respond from a place of calm, we bring a sense of dignity and respect to the interaction, regardless of how the other person behaves. Grace does not mean tolerating disrespect or pretending that nothing has happened. Instead, it is the ability to remain composed, to hold ourselves with integrity, and to choose how we engage in the moment. When we respond with grace, we honor ourselves and our values instead of getting swept away by the turbulence of emotion. We show that we are in control, not of the other person, but of our own response. Moreover, silence offers us a profound opportunity for self-reflection. When we don't react impulsively, we have the time to consider our emotional triggers, why we feel disrespected, and how we want to handle the situation. This self-reflection can deepen our understanding of ourselves and our boundaries. It can help us identify where we need to assert ourselves, where we need to let go, and where we can practice forgiveness. Without the noise of an immediate reaction, we hear our own thoughts more clearly and are better able to make decisions that align with our personal values. Choosing silence also allows us to avoid becoming entangled in negativity. Disrespect often brings out the worst in us if we're not careful. We may find ourselves caught in a cycle of defensiveness, anger, or resentment. Each retaliatory word or action can escalate the situation, leading to more hurt and misunderstanding. But silence interrupts the cycle. It gives us the ability to disengage from the drama and rise above the negative energy. In this way, staying quiet is not about suppressing our feelings, but about choosing not to let them dictate the course of the interaction. It is a conscious decision to not add to the negativity and to maintain our own peace. In moments of silence, we may also discover the power of nonverbal communication. Our body language, our presence, our energy can speak volumes. Sometimes remaining silent can convey a stronger message than any words could. It can signal that we are not willing to engage in conflict, that we will not be dragged into negativity, and that we expect to be treated with respect. Silence, in this sense, is not passive. It is an active choice to maintain our boundaries and uphold our dignity. When we stay quiet, we are also practicing emotional resilience. We build our ability to handle difficult situations without being overwhelmed by them. We become less reliant on others for validation or emotional regulation and more capable of maintaining our center, regardless of the external circumstances. In this way, silence strengthens our emotional muscle. It teaches that we do not have to be reactive every provocation and that we have the ability to choose how we respond to life's challenges. Staying quiet in the face of disrespect is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength to not be swayed by every emotional surge, strength to hold our peace, and strength to choose a higher path. When we stay quiet, we avoid adding fuel to the fire. In any conflict or situation where disrespect is involved, there's a natural tendency to react, to defend, or to retaliate. The impulse to fight back when we feel hurt or attacked is instinctual, but often responding in kind only escalates the situation. The cycle of negativity can intensify with each word or action, leading to more hurt, more frustration, and less resolution. By choosing silence, we remove ourselves from the cycle and avoid exacerbating the problem. We stop feeding the fire with our own reactions, giving ourselves a better chance at managing the situation with more clarity, composure, and control. When we engage with someone who is being disrespectful, especially in an emotionally charged situation, every word we speak has the potential to escalate the conflict. If we meet anger with anger or hurt with hurt, we only perpetuate the negativity. This reactive cycle can quickly spiral out of control with emotions running high and words being exchanged that we can't take back. The conflict grows larger than it needs to be, leaving everyone involved feeling worse. Silence, on the other hand, serves as a powerful way to disrupt this cycle. It allows the heat of the moment to dissipate, preventing us from saying things we'll regret and giving both parties a moment to cool off and collect their thoughts. Choosing silence in these moments also prevents us from falling into the trap of needing to win the argument or prove a point. Often, when disrespected, we feel a compulsion to defend ourselves or make the other person understand why their actions were wrong. We may believe that we need to justify ourselves in order to feel validated or to regain a sense of control. However, this need to be understood or validated often leads to more conflict because the other person may not be receptive or they might escalate the situation further. By staying quiet, we let go of the need to prove anything and allow ourselves to remain emotionally free from the conflict. We no longer give the other person the power to dictate our emotional state or force us into a defensive posture. Silence also allows us to reclaim our energy. When we engage in back and forth exchanges fueled by emotion, it takes a toll on us physically, mentally, and emotionally. Disrespect, conflict, and argument drain our energy, often leaving us feeling exhausted or emotionally spent. By choosing to remain quiet, we conserve our energy and protect ourselves from being drawn into a toxic dynamic. We take back control of how we spend our emotional resources, choosing not to invest them in an interaction that doesn't serve us or our well-being. This preservation of energy can be incredibly empowering, as it allows us to stay grounded, maintain our peace, and move forward without being weighed down by the negativity of the situation. Additionally, silence can be a powerful tool for creating space for the other person to reflect. When we stay quiet instead of reacting or continuing the argument, we give the other person a moment to consider their behavior, especially if they are the ones being disrespectful. Often, people act out of impulse or frustration, and their words or actions may not fully reflect their true intentions. By remaining silent, we create a pause that can help them step back from their own emotions and reconsider their actions. This shift in perspective can lead to greater understanding and resolution without us needing to engage in a verbal battle. Silence in this way is not only a form of self-preservation, but also a subtle invitation for reflection and growth in the other person. Moreover, silence allows us to create a boundary, a clear line between ourselves and the disrespectful behavior of others. In a sense, we are signaling that we will not engage with negativity, and we will not tolerate being mistreated. By choosing to stay quiet, we show that we are not available for disrespect. This boundary setting is a crucial aspect of self-respect, as it communicates to others that we value ourselves enough to walk away from toxic interactions or to remain composed in the face of them. Silence becomes a way to protect our emotional space and maintain our own integrity without getting caught in a conflict that doesn't align with our values or self-worth. Finally, by remaining silent, we often create room for better communication at a later time. When emotions have settled and both parties have had the opportunity to reflect, there's a greater chance for productive dialogue. By not reacting impulsively, we allow the situation to de-escalate and create a space for calm, measured conversation where both sides can express their thoughts and feelings without the baggage of an emotional outburst. Silence, therefore, doesn't mean that we are avoiding the issue. It simply means that we are choosing to address it in a way that is more constructive, calm, and thoughtful. In moments of disrespect, choosing silence empowers us to respond with grace, clarity, and control. It allows us to avoid reacting impulsively, breaking the cycle of negativity and preserving our emotional energy. Silence is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful tool for maintaining our self-respect, setting boundaries, and promoting reflection in both ourselves and others. By staying quiet, we give ourselves the space to assess the situation, choose our responses thoughtfully, and ultimately protect our peace. In a world full of conflict and noise, the choice to remain silent is a reminder that how we respond reveals more about us than the actions of others ever could.